Today we are wiring the 18650 batteries, and guys, this is the setup. I got everything wired up. I have a Magnum inverter, 12 volts, 600 watts. Here is the batteries. So these are the lithium batteries, the BMS 18650s. I've been doing a lot of videos on this. If you happen to just find this video, make sure you go through the video series. And this battery bank has a 7 modules, was 8. See the gap right there? I took one of them out because I have a faulty BMS. That battery can charge all the way to 16.8, and like I said, it's a BMS of 4S 6P, and the battery capacity is 276.48 watt hours for each module of them. And if you multiply that by 7, it's gonna give you 1.935.36 kilowatts. So it's 935.36 watt hours. Okay, so the amperage, total amps, is a 19.2 per module times 7 of them is going to be 134.4 amp hours at 12 volts. So I got them into fuses, inline fuse for each module, and I shrink wrap it. Well, I got to use a tape. I don't want any voltage or any spike flying all the way around causing trouble. That's why I put a black tape. And these are the fuses, inline fuse. I suppose this wire is a 16 gauge I use on this inline. You see the wire that comes through come from the BMS is a small wire as well. And I brought them to bus bars where I parallel all the positives and all the negatives here. I have the one out stud, and here that goes to the disconnects, and I have this wired all the way to the shunt, the negative, because the amps and every activity is reading from the negative side and coming to that. I have a Renogy battery monitor. Right now it's in at 16.7 volt, and I have to set up the capacity here, which is 134.4 amp hours. This is the disconnect, and that's gonna disconnect our battery coming to the inverter. This box is a temporary setup because this box I was going to utilize, but I don't want to go through all the wiring yet because I don't have all the parts. You see there's a disconnect for it over there. But this is the output that comes from the inverter. Here goes the INR18650. This is the advanced remote. And this is for the Magnum. It plugs on the back here on the remote side. See that? The bottom one is the temperature or accessory port, which the other ones, my other inverters have there for the temperature. So now here, if we can go ahead and program the battery, press and hold the OK button, and this is how you program your amp hours, and you can go down to select whatever you wanted. Okay, so you set up your cutoff and everything. So push the select. Oh, let's go here. It's gonna start flashing. So we have 134 amp hours. So push back the next one and go right here. And we push the 4. 134.4 amp hours. Welcome to the channel. Today this video is about the INR18650MH1 4S 6P batteries finally up and running live here at JW Solar USA. So it has been a battle, but we finally realized that we lost one module here, which is right here. For some reason the power is not transmitting on these wires right here. So if you use the buses right here, you can read the power. I think the BMS output is short. Okay, and I'm observing the batteries closely, and if they pull in more power, you can feel the warmness on the BMSs. And monitoring this one closely, this one tends to be very cold, the BMS. So the other ones are kind of warm to the touch. You can sense there's something there. So I thought that was the fuse at first, and I got a blown fuse, 2 blown fuse. It's a 15 amps, but these batteries are rated for 19.2 amps. So I wasn't sure. Well, it's rated for the wire, and I wasn't too sure if I have to go through this and use a 20 amp fuse on it. But I bought these wires. They came with a 15 amp on them. It's for cars and something. So it's rated for the wire. So anytime you do in a wiring system, the breaker or the fuse is rated for the wire. Before the wire is going to catch on fire, you have to make sure that the fuse blow. The fuse is going to blow. So if you can see the fuses here, and this is what I've done, and comes to the bus bar right here, and the bus bar, all the positives is all here. See them? Yeah, and all the negatives on the back here, and comes through this. The output comes to the shunt, and from the shunt from the shunt it goes to this stuff right here. There's a board on the side of this shunt that gives the readings right here. Okay, gives the readings here. And the output, this is the battery, the minus, the B minus. I don't know if you can see on the corner, and the P minus. The P is for the load. It comes all the way here, and goes to the negative side of the inverter minus, and the positive comes back all the way here and comes to the disconnect switch. So we can able to terminate or disconnect the batteries when we wish, or if something is about to happen, we can disconnect it from here. So from there, you can see we have a remote right there. That's the Magnum Energy remote. Okay, the ERC50 is the advanced one with the faves. See that, the corner right here, and it comes all the way to the back and goes to the remote section right there, plugged there with a telephone, regular home telephone cord. 15.1 says 15.2 right here. The inverter right now is in load, and we have to program the remote, and we give all the cutoffs and the high end. Since this inverter can only take that operating voltage, DC input operating voltage is 15.3. I learned it the hard way. It says on the back is 15.5. It says 15.5 up here, from 10 volt to 15.5, but it wasn't operating at all. Can't let me, it says over voltage. So you see the specs there, and I lost a lot of power from 16.8 to 15.3 so that this thing can work. So the battery's high voltage or max charge is 16.8, so it's 15.3. So we lost about a volt and a half. So 1.5 volts we lost. A 1.5 volts is a big deal on lithium. It's a big deal. So I have to regulate. So now these batteries can even last longer. You know, longevity or the cycling life, they would never see the top end, and they will never see the top end charging. They'll always see the bottom, which I cut off. It's supposed to be 11 point something 2 volts for these batteries. So let's go back here. I'll show you. Press and hold. So these are the parameters I set, and I've done this because it's gonna power off. The BMS shut off at 11.2. Okay, right there. Battery management system shut off at 11.2. I set it here. Power off, and I get a full charge. Now the new number is supposed to be 15.3 and 134.4 amp hours. Okay, 15.3 volts. So the 0 volt is when the batteries, I realized that they are full when I was installing them at 16.7 volts that time. So I decided to cut it off and press and hold the bottom arrow, just go back to full 100%, and that's how we end up having the stator charge. Okay, that's how we end up having the stator charge to 100%, and we able to, that's how we calibrate it. And now and we've lost now. We've take out approximately, because that was 134 point something, and now we are now 131. So this is what it is, and we've been pulling constantly 8.9 volts, 135 watts on the DC side. This is not an AC, while the inverter remote, the MERC50 is telling us that we pull in 9 amps, because this one doesn't connect to its shunt, which is the battery management kit, the BMK. So it doesn't have it, doesn't see it, so it's reading whatever is inverting, right? And this is the actual reading there. It's taken out in watts, volts, and amps, and it's gonna tell you how many hours. It says about 14 hours and 44 minutes. So, and this is the AC side. I plug in this, I'm running the freezer, and this inverter is just a 12 volt, and it's not a big inverter. It's just 600 watt. The problem with this, the surge is the problem. The surge, it cannot handle the high surge starting up loads. You can't do it. So I cannot connect the two freezers here. So instead, I have to connect one upright freezer. Doing so to get my inverter running, or else it's not gonna run at all. It's just gonna shut off automatically because of it can handle the surge. Okay. So the battery, we already commenced the batteries, and they are working. And I'm still monitoring the pack right here. This one, I have to check on it pulling more load, or maybe charging, and observe it. So let me show you the freezer. Well, this is the freezer we're running right now. You see all the goodies, all veggies, or ice, all this stuff. This is the upright freezer, and I was gonna run both of them, but you can't do it. It's just the one because of the surge on the compressor. So these are the load it can handle, and it can run a little freezer, upright freezer. And this is the Kenmore 5. So this is the other one, but I'm unfortunate to be able to run the bottom one here, so I stack them all the way up. So you don't just want to invest quite some money and build a system like this that can power something. If that freezer was my priority, then it will be fine. I can able to power some lights as well. And I just want to see the runtime on this system and see how it runs. But the advantage, you always have power, and you can have only a little solar coming in here, and you have to drop the voltage all the way down for you to be able to enjoy your batteries. But else, you are running at a very low voltage, which is still high, but my inverter can take a high voltage like this. I appreciate that. The other ones can take up to about 16.8, 1000 watts. This is a 600 watt. And if I can able to run something like this, or someone able to run this for their own family, and this is good. You got some few lights. It might probably anything that's gonna surge, then you're in trouble because it doesn't surge, it doesn't handle the surge well. But this is the system is running. You can use this for just like a remote center for repeaters or radio. They don't have that surge, they just go. That's the thing. See, but anything with a compressor, anything with I think is pumps or induction load is not going to be good for this inverter. It doesn't able to do that. But you can always upgrade the inverter, and you can able to use the full potential of the 16.8 or 16.7 full charge. You leave about 1 millivolts, so the batteries last longer. But right now, the way it is, these batteries will last for a very long time. But you want to use these batteries for just maybe for charging station like a cell phones or whatever, DC to DC or lighting. Yeah, you're gonna be reaping a lot of benefits into those batteries. Well, that's what it is. See, we are dropping now to the 15. Goes by 15.1, go 15.2, bounce back. So that's what it is. There's a disconnect, the shunt, the fuses. So I have double protection. The BMS protected. It goes back to the fuse with the heavy load with the wires. There's gonna blow the fuse. You got a the shunt right here to read everything. This is the field gauge. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. JW Solar USA, live from Minnesota. Stay tuned for more to come.